Hello and welcome to the You Think It, We Say It show. I am your host, Tiffany Taylor Hicks, and we are brought to you this week by the Houston African American Bloggers Association. We are super excited that this episode is being sponsored by Paul Wilson Insurance Agency. And today I have Charlotte and Janae here with me. Our first segment is It Takes a Village. So, ladies, for It Takes a Village, we have a very, very interesting topic. So we decided we were going to talk about parenting, which seems to be a really hot spot for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And what I thought would be an interesting conversation for us would be for us to talk about the differences in parenting as it relates to, like, let's say baby boomers versus Generation X versus millennials. So today on the news, I saw a story about a gentleman in Atlanta where another man that he did not know actually disciplined his child in the store. So what happened was he was at the store with his kid, and his son asked him for a candy bar. And so what ended up happening is that the father was like, "No, you can't have it." Look, and so of course, like a typical child, he was like 5, fell out. He had a temper tantrum. So a man who was in the store behind them actually took the little boy's hand, slapped his hand, and then popped the little boy's butt. So the parents called the police and filed charges. Now, they did say that the dude was intoxicated. He had been drinking. But this is what he said to the father when he was doing it. He said, "That's how we discipline them in Mexico." And so the man said, "Well, we not in Mexico." And I'm thinking, well, you was just standing there while he did it? You didn't put your hands on the man while he was touching your kid? Like, what was going on? So what do you guys think about, so that would be the question. What do you guys think about, first, let's talk about discipline. And then let's talk about how you feel about other people disciplining your kids.
First of all, I just want to say they'd have been calling the police, but the man wouldn't have been the one with the charges filed on him, because don't come for my kid, especially if I don't know you. That's right. The first thing. But I discipline my child on occasion. It just depends on what's going on. I'm not like all for beating the kid, but sometimes it takes a little spanking.
Well, see, that's interesting because there's a lot of people that don't believe in disciplining their kids. So I did discipline my son, right? But then there's also, I got to a point, like, he used to get in trouble all the time. Like, I had 1 month where I literally was beating him every day. And I was like, I don't want to be this kind of parent, right? I don't want to be the parent who I can't parent because he's always on punishment or because he's always in trouble for something. And so I started thinking about, like, do you really want to use, like, corporal punishment as the way? Now, keep in mind, I still kept it. I thought about it. But I still kept it because I feel like as a single mother, and especially a single mother of a male child, sometimes you might have to reach out and touch somebody, right? So that they understand. But what do you think?
Okay, so here's my thing.
If you're in...
You have to discipline your children. It just may not be in the means that you grew up with.
Okay.
There are things that work with you and there were things that didn't. For some children, spanking works. Sometimes for some kids, it's just a look.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You just give that side eye real good.
Yeah.
And they just...
That's how my dad was. If my daddy turned around and looked at me, or if my parents said my whole name, let me tell you, if they said my whole name, I already knew. You saying my whole name in front of other people, but when we get home and get away from these people, you going to beat my tail. I know it. That's going to happen. Or I would get pinched. Pinch.
Oh, yes.
I like being pinched.
Get a pinch.
Hated it. And then, my parents, they were old school, some had this extension cord, the house shoe, the belt, switch. Made you get your own switch?
Oh, yeah. I don't think I ever had to go and get a switch, but what I can tell you was the waiting for the butt whooping was the problem for me. So, like, when my mama would say, when your daddy get home, you gonna get your butt whooped, and I'm like, can't I just get my whooping now? Like, can you just go ahead?
Why gotta anticipate it?
Why I gotta wait for my daddy? It's gonna hurt when he whoop me, right? I would prefer that.
That's the punishment, but
that's what it was.
I was a good girl, so I only got, I can count on one hand the amount of times
Did
that
you
I got a
that?
spanking.
I don't believe
in my entire life.
Oh, okay.
I can count on one hand without using all of my fingers.
Okay.
The amount of times that I got a spanking, because I was the only girl. I was pretty much to myself.
She was spoiled.
I wouldn't label it as no. I did mostly what I was supposed to be doing, but I do agree that what works for one person isn't going to work for everybody. So, like with my son, I spank him, but at this point, he's old enough to understand. So if he can't tell me why he's getting a spanking, he's not going to just get a spanking. He has to be able to let me know why he's in trouble, what he did, and what the consequence was that was already stated is for that situation. And then from there, whatever was said is going to be what it is, because he can tell me what he did. He can articulate why he's in trouble. And so if you can tell me why you're in trouble and what you did wrong, you need a punishment. That's life. That's consequences to your actions. But I don't just go around like just whooping him, but I definitely physically discipline my child when he's doing the wrong thing, because he also needs to understand that you can't just, mind you, he's a little boy. You can't just run up on everybody. Right. You can't buck up to me because I'm your mama. Because believe you me, he's probably going to be bigger than me because his other side of the family is pretty tall. But I tell you what, I'm going to break you down. Right. Don't tell yourself you're going to run up on me because you're bigger than me. But you my child. I gave birth to you. Right. And I believe in the whole brought you into this world. And I'll tell you,
we all know that. That could be like, if you say that, if you start that at a concert and say, I brought you out in this world, everybody will finish with the, and I'll take you out. Right. So everybody knows that. That brings me to a really good point. So for me, I used to do the same thing. I used to actually say, here were the rules, and the rules are, we don't lie in this house. If you tell the truth, you will not get, it won't be physical. Like, you may get put on punishment, right? And we're going to talk about what you did, and we're going to make some decisions on what could you have done better. But if you lie, oh yeah, I'm like, who is that? I don't know what company that is. AT&T. You got to reach out and touch them. Yeah, I'm gonna have to touch you if you lie. But that's because that's my personality. I don't like to be lied to, and so I give full disclosure to my son. Even when he was younger, I told him the truth. It was like I don't want you to go out into the world believing certain things, because other people won't tell you the truth. But when you're here, this is a place of learning, and this is a place of truth. And so, and it's interesting because we do that now with each other.
But you gave your child clear expectations. You really have to, starting from them being little, lay out the expectations. You're going to do A, B, C, and D. Okay. And then with my children, because they're in different ages, I do age appropriate. My older daughter, I don't spank her too much. Well, actually, I really don't spank her at all anymore. But she just got a laptop, and at this point, I can easily say, okay, no laptop for a week.
Oh, that's going to kill her. That hurts more than anything. Right. Take those electronics away.
And with my younger one, she's still in the getting a spanking phase, but not as often. But I give her options. Okay, you can do what I told you and not get a spanking, or you cannot do what I tell you to do, get a spanking, and then do it.
Oh, same thing. So either way it goes, you might be getting a spanking, right?
So do you want to get the spanking or not get the spanking? I mean, either way, I'm good.
That seems pretty simple. So that brings me to a good question then. So I'll start with you, Janae. What age do you think you should stop? If you are whipping your child or spanking your child, like, at what age do you think they're too old to be getting a spanking?
I think that when it no longer hurts when I pop my child, he's too big to be getting a spanking. But then that means that we might have to throw some hands, because it depends on what's going on. Because my son, he liked to run up sometimes before he knew what it was. And I think when he gets a little bigger, at some point, he's going to be smelling himself. And I'm going to have to let him know, hey, don't think because you're bigger than me or because I'm your mama that you going to come up on me like you grown. Because you're not. Because if that's the case, hey, baby, I love you, but you can go be grown somewhere else.
So no particular age, but what you're saying is that when he gets to a point in maturity where it's no longer effective. Right. All right, so then what would you say? Do you believe there's an age?
I think there is an age. Once you get past the age of around 8 or so, I mean, is it really effective at that point? They're more articulate. They can form well-reasoned arguments sometimes, right, at that point. So you really have to find different ways. It can't just be just the stick all the time.
Right. That's true. Yeah. This is what I thought. So my son played football. And he played football from the age of 6, and he played contact sport. So truthfully, at 6, if I whooped him, it wasn't hurting. Like, it was not. And so I was like, okay, so does this really matter at this point? So for me, I had to learn how to find out what mattered to him, like you with the laptop. What is it? What can I take away? Like what could be, what is your consequence for this action? But it's got to be something that really sticks with you and really matters, right? And so my son's not materialistic at all. So it was very difficult for me. Like I was really literally like, because he would be okay. If I take stuff away, okay, he'd just sit in his room, chill out, take a nap. So it was kind of difficult, but what I did learn with him was he was a talker. He was the kind of person that wanted to talk through what it was that he did wrong so that he could understand better and make better decisions. But overall, I still think that discipline is something that you definitely have to do with your kids. So any final thoughts as we wrap up this segment?
I think sometimes it takes both. And I say that because, like, my son is 4, and so he has a tablet, he has things he likes to do, he wants to be able to play with his toys, and so it does sting more when you take something away. But sometimes you also got to give them that life lesson that if you do the wrong thing out here in the real world, that might end your life, and that's going to hurt physically. So you got to understand there are physical consequences and there are general consequences to what you do. And so I think that both are important in teaching children how to become effective members of society, because in real life, when you're dealing with other people, they're not going to have no sympathy. They're not always going to do it in love, and they're going to do it to hurt you intentionally.
That's true.
And I think you also have to take into consideration when you're giving consequences, follow them through. If you say, you know, you're grounded for a week, don't say, okay, after 2 days and let them go. You have to stick through it. They have to understand that what you say goes. Okay. You know, if you end up in jail, they're not going to let you out just because you smiled real pretty and
said, I'm sorry.
Right. That's true.
That cop just going to throw you in the bag, just be like, okay, it's time for us to go.
Mm-hmm. That is so right, and I think that that's a good wrap up for this segment, because at the end of the day, we have to think about disciplining our kids is not necessarily just because we're disciplining them because we're angry, or we're disciplining them because they didn't meet an expectation. It is really because we have to get them prepared for the real world, and there are people out here that will discipline your children harshly, like Janae said, for saying the wrong thing, not even doing the wrong thing, and sometimes for no reason. Just because they don't like the way your child looks or whatever the case may be. So I really, really appreciate it. You guys, that was a really, really good segment. And so it's kind of actually going to roll us into our next one, which is going to be Black Houston Living. But first, we are going to get a word from our sponsor, Paul Wilson Insurance Agency.
Are you a Black blogger, podcaster, or vlogger located in Houston? Do you need help amplifying your voice? Do you want to be an active partner with an association that was designed with you in mind? If you answered yes to any or all of these questions, now is an excellent time to join the Houston African American Bloggers Association to enjoy the benefits of working with a thriving and expanding collective.
Grandma and Grandpa just bought a brand new Corvette, lipstick red and black leather seats. I want to be just like them when I retire, footloose and fancy free. One of the things they taught me was to have a great insurance and retirement plan. That's why I signed up with the Paul Wilson Insurance Agency. Farmers, our family has trusted them with all our insurance and retirement needs, so we have no worries on the road of life or on the highway to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. The Paul Wilson Insurance Agency, a farmer's company. Contact the Paul Wilson Agency today at 281-200-0137. Grandma.
Thank you for watching Houston's most diverse opinion-based show, You Think It, We Say It, brought to you by the Houston African American Bloggers Association. On the show, we share information, opinions, and perspectives focusing on Houston and flowing outward to encompass living well globally. To find out more, please visit HoustonAfricanAmericanBloggers.com.
Hurricane Harvey hit us hard. Me and my wife lost both cars, and our house has water damage. We worried about our future, but then we contacted our trusted Paul Wilson Insurance Agency, Farmers. Let them make sure you're covered properly in the event of a loss. Contact them today for a free, no-obligation review of your current policy. After contacting Paul Wilson, we knew things were going to work out just fine. Contact the Paul Wilson Agency today at 281-200-0137. a farmer's company.
Welcome back, you guys. I am excited. This segment is going to be Black Houston Living, and I am joined with the beautiful Tashia and the absolutely wonderful Charlotte. She is with us again, and we are going to type this. So this topic is going to be a little bit heavy, and it kind of rolled into, we just talked about disciplining our children in the previous segment, and this is going to kind of roll us into, we're going to talk about human sex trafficking, especially as it relates to teens in the Houston area, and I'm super excited about that. So one of the things that I wanted, because I didn't realize this was something new for me, I found this out from a lady that owns an organization called Pink Houston, that Houston is the #1 hub for human sex trafficking, and I was not aware of that, and that was like very devastating for me, and I didn't realize that it was because we're such a huge oil and gas industry, and that with that it brings the sex trade to the city. So I wanted to start off with just talking about a couple quotes. So you guys, this is some of the good information that I got from the lady at Pink Love Houston. She gave me the info. She said 70% of the females who are trafficked in the United States are trafficked into commercial sex industry, including strip clubs. Also, the Texas strip clubs generate about $3.1 billion a year. And then approximately 69% of the women that are in the commercial sex industry, they experience PTSD, which was very interesting. And then approximately 80% of the strippers in Texas are mothers. And then one of the other things that I found to be super interesting, like I did not know, was that according to the study done by the Free Captives, more girls are trafficked in Texas in 30 days than there are teens who died of suicide, homicide, and accidents in 1 year. So that is very disheartening, and that's kind of what we were going to talk about. So were you aware that we were the #1 human sex trafficking hub?
I actually am. One of my specialties is working with the sex offender population.
Okay.
And we do a lot of training, and that's one of the things we discuss is the sheer amount of sex trafficking that goes on in our own city.
Okay.
You have to think about we're a very, very large city, very diverse population. We're on a major interstate. We have the Gulf. We have so many people coming in and out. 2 major airports, so it can be very easy to move these girls in and out, and nobody even notice it.
And that's one of the things that I understood. I understood that because it's I-10 and the I-10 corridor itself
goes across the country.
Because it goes across the country, it makes it easier to move the girls. And I was like, wow, like that was like, it didn't even occur to me that made sense, right? So I'm thinking, what would make that any different from, like let's say I-20? Or let's say I-95, because I-95 moves all the way up the East Coast, right? And so the thing that has always really, the thing that has always concerned me is that who is looking out for these girls, because we are now at the #1 spot. And I know that we have some task force that are here in Houston that are designed to help. I know that there are some nonprofits here in Houston that are helping, but I guess what I'm wondering is, what could we do to have more of a presence to say that that's not what we want or what we want for our city?
Sorry, I was just going to say, one of the things that we need to do is we need to stop re-victimizing victims and actually go after those who are victimizing them.
Okay.
If you look at what people actually get for sex trafficking, it's versus the damage that they cause by trafficking multiple people over years, starting when they're very young, is a slap on the wrist.
Okay.
Most people that are participating in this behavior, it's on track to become the most profitable criminal business enterprise in our lifetimes.
Were you guys aware that most of the ladies that are in sex trafficking also tend to be married to the person that has put them out there and trafficked them? And I was like so shocked by that.
Well, you have to consider you're not dealing with regular PTSD. Regular PTSD, you experience this one trauma and you can manage that.
Okay.
It takes a little bit of work, but that's manageable. When you're consistently traumatized, even starting as a young child, and then that trauma continues on.
Okay.
Many of these girls go into what's called tend and befriend.
Okay.
So they look for somebody who's strong, who can protect them.
Okay.
And so when they're sexually abused as children, they're looking for that older man who's going to take care of them, who may be 20, 30 years old, who says all the right things. Oh, baby, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to make sure nobody ever hurts you again. Never mind that you're hurting them.
Right. Okay. So that's kind of like Stockholm.
I believe that the average is right before 13.
Right.
The average age that they're actually being put in there. So if you think about the fact that they are being groomed, we're talking about Black Houston living. Let's just talk about the fact that in our own community, let's just be really honest, we talk about fast little girls. We don't talk about the deviants that are pursuing them.
Right.
We talk about our daughters can't wear this. Well, what man should be in your home if your daughter has on shorts and it makes you uncomfortable? We need to shift the conversation, but we need to also be honest about the conversation. So when you come from abuse, it's very easy to be abused.
I'm going to play the devil's advocate for just a quick second, because we are talking about Black Houston living. And my question to you guys, and it might be very controversial, but do you think that the lack of male presence in the home has anything to do with the fact that a lot of the girls are running away, or a lot of them are looking for a man to be in their life or to govern them in some way?
Well, the thing is, in a single parent home, your children are 3 to 4, 5, 6 times more likely to be abused.
Okay.
Because if you have all these men coming in and out, you don't have child care, you're looking for somebody to take care of your child, you think, okay, this person's okay, not knowing or not taking into consideration that this person could be a potential predator.
Okay.
You know, you're leaving your children to the wolves, and you may not even recognize it.
Okay, and let's not forget the fact that on some real stuff, hurt people really, like, because a lot of the moms have been abused,
right,
or have been molested, right?
In our community, if it does not kill you, supposedly it makes you stronger.
Right.
What that actually is saying, though, is that it doesn't matter how much harm you have taken in and how you have to work through that, you didn't die. So it's okay. So here's the problem with the way that we think as a community, and I'm going to just say as a community because too many of us turn a blind eye.
That's true.
I know in multiple families where there's that uncle you don't want to leave your kids with. There's that aunt that is a little too interested in your fine son. And so when we turn a blind eye to it, when we don't get involved, when we look the other way, we literally are saying that these children don't have enough value for us to get involved. And so, what goes on in this house stays in the house. And a really good example of that is the little girl that video that just went around. And that's all I'm going to say. I didn't see the video.
Okay.
But the fact that people shared it, the fact that
felt
people
comfortable sharing it.
The fact that the mother aided that man to evade capture initially, her own mother. So you knew your child was being abused.
Okay.
And that's not uncommon. There's this mindset that a pair of shoes, a man, any man, is better than no man. And so when you're confronting and dealing with those types of deviance and deviant behavior, the only thing that we can do, literally, it has to start in our homes, in our families. We have to start saying, no, you don't have to be abused. No, it's not cool what you're doing. Yes, I will turn you in. We have to say we value the children more than we value the pedophile.
And you have to empower your children. If your child doesn't want to hug Uncle Ricky, don't make him hug Uncle Ricky.
You have a point. Because the funny thing about that is that kids know. Like kids, they just know. Even if they just know when somebody's not right or not good. You can tell their behavior changes. So that brings me to the thing that I wanted to make sure that we point out in here. When it comes to sex trafficking or human trafficking, one of the things I want parents to know is that please, please, please be present and available for your kids. You have to be nosy. You have to know what they're doing. You have to know who they're talking to, who they're hanging out with, where they're going. These are things you have to know. You have to know what is happening on their social media, because the truth of the matter is that these predators are catching the kids on social media. There is more access to our kids now than there ever has been. One of the things I wanted to point out that was super important, and I promised my friend Keisha that I would say this, is that kids happen to take pictures, right, everywhere, and they don't turn their geotag off, right? So these kids are out here putting everything that they do on social media, and it makes it easy for a predator to just come and scoop them. So just wanting to make sure that I tell parents that it is super important for them to know what their children are doing. And then would you guys have anything extra to add? Like, I know that this is a weighty subject and we may have to talk about it a little bit more and bring an expert in, but what would you say to parents to get them to know how serious this is and how to avoid this for their kids?
Okay, in regards to social media, rule number 1 is your child does not have a computer in their own room. That's rule number 1. You know all their passwords. You have access to whatever they have access to. Okay. With that being said, children are sneaky. I'm not gonna lie. True. They may have their own social media accounts. What we learned. Okay, I just went to a conference for real. Okay. And one of the things we talked about was how the parole officers will set up fake accounts and they'll check on their kids with the fake accounts.
Oh, that's smart.
I know, right? So, and not only that, they talked about certain apps that you can hide apps on your phone.
Right. So the calculator app, y'all need to watch out. Yeah. I don't know if you parents know that, but the calculator app, please watch out for that, because there are several things that it's actually just a cover, right? Inside the app, it's actually a chat app. Same thing we talked about on one of the other shows, Words with Friends. Watch out, because your kids might not just be playing a game. There's a chat feature there.
You really need to watch out the video games, especially if they're on like Xbox Live. You know, they would play recordings. Like they had this one recording of a grown man talking to a 9-year-old boy about sex toys. Like, who does that?
It's disgusting and disturbing. I would also say, though, to parents, thank you for watching. If you're in Houston, force them into physical contact with anyone, not even you. Respect their physical, teach them that their body is their own, because you know what? When we force them into contact, that normalizes it. And when you normalize contact that's unwanted, then when someone is violating them, it doesn't feel, or they don't have that, oh my God, this is wrong, I need to run and tell somebody, because they've been forced to do it already. And as a parent, how heartbreaking is that? Is you're the one who taught your child to accept it.
You know what? Let me tell you, that is the perfect segue to our next topic, because our next topic is it's complicated. And we're going to talk about toxic relationships, because that's exactly what that is. So everybody, you guys stay tuned with us. We are going to take a break and we're going to pay some bills, and we are going to look at a commercial from our sponsor, Paul Wilson Insurance Agency.
If you're in Houston and interested in becoming a content creator, attending our 3rd annual boot camp on August 4th, 2018 is an excellent way to learn the benefits and ins and outs of consistent, engaging content creation. For more information on everything I've just mentioned, please visit HoustonAfricanAmericanBloggers.com.
My wife Annette and I have been married 2 years and now expecting our first child. The doctor says it's a boy and I'm so excited. Now this addition to our family has us thinking about the future and how our son will be taken care of if something ever happened to us. I suggested to my wife we contact our insurance agent. The people at the Paul Wilson Insurance Agency helped us pick out a great life insurance plan that will ensure that our loved ones will be taken care of in case of an untimely death. Now that that's taken care of, we can now focus on finishing this baby room. Contact the Paul Wilson Insurance Agency at 281-200-0137.
Are you a Black blogger, podcaster, or vlogger located in Houston? Do you need help amplifying your voice? Do you want to be an active partner with an association that was designed with you in mind? If you answered yes to any or all of these questions, now is an excellent time to join the Houston African American Bloggers Association to enjoy the benefits of working with a thriving and expanding collective.
Grandma and Grandpa just bought a brand new Corvette, lipstick red and black leather seats. I want to be just like them when I retire, footloose and fancy free. One of the things they taught me was to have a great insurance and retirement plan. That's why I signed up with the Paul Wilson Insurance Agency. Farmers, our family has trusted them with all our insurance and retirement needs, so we have no worries on the road of life or on the highway to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. The Paul Wilson Insurance Agency, a farmer's company. Contact the Paul Wilson Agency today at 281-200-0137.
Welcome back, you guys. I'm so glad that you guys are here with us. We are moving to our next segment, which is It's Complicated. And we're going to talk about toxic relationships. And I can't help but laugh because I love this topic. Like, I talk about this all the time with my friends and with my family. So I have the beautiful Janae here with me and also the absolutely wonderful and beautiful Chandra. And we are going to be talking about toxic relationships.
Oh, my goodness.
This seemed to be like the natural progression in the show when we were talking about human sex trafficking on the last segment, and then talking about toxic relationships, because number one, we know that if it is a human sex trafficking situation, it's toxic, right? But let's talk about some of the things that happen on the front end that could be causing, one, that to be an outcome, but then two, really, let's be real, like I don't know, almost everybody has been through some type of toxic relationship.
Absolutely, yes.
So what our big question was in this segment was toxicity and when should you leave, right? So let's talk about that. So I want to say, so first question I want to throw out there is, have either of you ever been in a toxic relationship? Let's start there.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then...
Yes.
Okay, so I know that I definitely have.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to say is, if you could share, because we know we don't want to put nobody on blast, because this is Houston, and some of my exes might be watching.
Right.
So what I'd like, let's talk about, when do you think, Shonda, that it's time to leave? At what point is enough and it's time to get up out of there?
Well, definitely. I mean, when you're at a point to where you're feeling defeated and deflated and stressed and beat down emotionally, that's the time to leave, when you just start to not feel like yourself, and like something isn't, it's not right. I'm waking up with a heaviness on my heart, and it's kind of taking over. I'm not in a safe and peaceful place.
Okay.
Then it's time to go. It's time to say bye-bye.
I think for me, I knew it was time to go when I didn't want to.
Are you a black?
You live with a person, you're occupying the same space, and you get off of work at 7 and you don't go to the club. You didn't go have no drink, but it's 9 o'clock and you still sitting in the parking lot of your own apartment complex.
Been there.
Because you don't want to go in the house. I think it might be time to go. What do you think? Share with us.
Ooh, so I'm trying not to put out all the business. So first, there are obvious factors of when you should leave. If they putting their hands on you,
right,
they cussing you out every day. If you feeling like your safety is threatened, it's time to leave, men and women, because women do the same things that men do.
Right.
But men get penalized for it more and get put on blast for it more. But also, if you know that this person is doing the wrong thing, or they are mistreating you, or they family and friends is like, I don't even know why you with this person, I think that's a clear sign that it's time to maybe consider leaving.
That is, the interesting thing about that is that I think that, it's a show and it's for African Americans. So let's talk about the fact that as Black women, I think we see potential too much.
Oh my God.
And I'm so over potential. I'm like, look, I need you to be on the other side of potential. I need you to have figured it out. But it's the same thing, even if it's women, because, and King Mason would love that I'm sharing this, right? So for those of you guys out there, King Mason is a member of our group, and he is always our male voice, and I can hear him right now. But the thing is that a lot of times men see potential in women too. Absolutely. Like, they are in the relationship for what they think it could potentially be, not what it really is, right? And then the toxicity comes in, I think, when people are not happy with themselves. So this isn't a toxic relationship because you mad at me. This isn't a toxic relationship because I'm not doing what you want me to do. Right. This is toxic because you got some unresolved issues, right? You have some things with yourself that you have not resolved, or you haven't fixed. And so if you're not happy with yourself, if you don't love yourself, how can you love me? Exactly. How can we have a healthy relationship if you are not even internally healthy for yourself? And then also think about how many of the people we know that came from toxic relationships.
Right. And let's talk about the people that stay, or why we stay, because I know I stayed far longer than I should have.
Long.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the reasons that people end up staying, it could be fear, loneliness,
financial.
Yeah. Financial is a really big one.
Just
people have become very codependent on that relationship, not knowing, Lord, if I leave, what am I going to do?
We stay for sex too, y'all. I'm gonna put that out there.
And for
stay
sex,
stay for that too, because don't nobody want to start all over. I don't want to have to teach another person what I like. I don't want to do all that.
Yeah. And people don't want to start over.
And I want to know that the packaging is
secure.
I'm just saying, secure the package. That's what we're saying. Secure the package.
But then after a while, it's not even worth it. So.
Because even that in itself can be toxic, right? Because some of us look for love through sex, and that's that's some seriousness, right? I know that I think that as a younger person, I was in love with the idea of love. And for me as a young person, love and sex were the same thing. Like I didn't separate those. I was like, if this feeling is this good and I'm happy, and this my point is that was love to me, because how would I have known anything different? And here's why. I wasn't married, so I didn't understand that you taking care of me and providing for me, that's love, right? Because at a young age, I'm thinking it's the newness of it, it's the fun, it's the he look good, I don't mind having him on my arm, we go out, we have a good time, we drink a little bit, and then afterward it's the turn up, right? But not knowing that if that ends in, I can't say that word, but if it's the effing and fighting, because that's what I did a lot of, and that's what the toxicity was. And I didn't realize that was really unhealthy for me. It took a minute. It took a minute for me to say, I'm too ashamed to share this with my friends. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
And I think that's a good point. If you can't talk to somebody who you talk to everything about what's going on, then it's probably something that's not for you. It's probably something that's actually really bad for you, to the point that you are so disappointed in yourself that you like, I can't tell anybody. If it carries that much shame, then you probably shouldn't be doing it.
Right. And that's the point that you actually really, should, because sometimes we get stuck and you get stuck in that situation and you're like, how do I get out? I am ashamed. How do I tell people what I've been going through? I've been keeping on this face because I know it happened. It's happened to me when I've been in that type of relationship. Okay, people see me. They like, they have this certain perception. Okay. How do I go and tell them, as I preach to other women, to be strong and be confident, and tell them my situation, and they look at me like, wait a minute, what happened? You're in that situation, but you're telling us. But then you have to really look at yourself, that we all are fragile.
Right.
We all, are emotional. We all have feelings, and everybody has their shortcomings. So if you are in that situation right now, ladies, men, do not feel ashamed. Do not feel like you can't go to somebody to break out of that cycle, because you'll look up, and I promise you, I have talked to ladies and I have seen it. Years will go by and you'll be in that same situation. You'll be like, Lord, where did the time go?
Yep.
And you still there and you haven't gone anywhere.
That brings me to a really good point. So this is what helped me get out of my toxic relationship. And I think, I'm not saying anybody who's in a toxic relationship, I completely understand. I know that it's very difficult. I was blessed to get the eye opener at the age of 27. And it was because a friend said to me, he said, Tiffany, what is this going to look like in 5 years? You going to still be in this same kind of relationship in 5 years? You going to let your son be around this in 5 years? Like how will this impact his psyche? And the minute that somebody let me know, the minute it seeped into my mind that this toxicity is not just affecting me, this is also affecting my child, I was like, wait a minute, I hadn't even thought about that. Because at that point now it's not just me being in a toxic relationship. There's the underlying current that I'm being a bad parent, and we can't have that, right? So that's what I would challenge people. I would say that if you're in something that is toxic right now, ask yourself, can you tolerate that for the next 5 years? Is this where you want to be? Because sometimes the toxicity is not as open as putting their hands on you. Sometimes it's just not supporting you. Sometimes it's like you out here shining and they trying to dim your light. That's toxic.
It's very toxic. It's very toxic.
And I think another issue comes in with people who are not necessarily in toxic relationships, but they're what we call, relationship goals. And the fact that there's a lack of transparency, because everybody has their relationship goals. Oh, I want to be like this or that, but you don't know the things that they've gone through, the things they've had to put up with and deal with and work through to get to where they are. And plus, on social media, people ain't putting they dirty laundry. They're not showing their husband with the torn shirt he wear every day around the house that they can't stand, and the mismatched socks. Exactly. They got the nice pictures with the happy family and stuff, but you don't know what they go through to get to that point. You don't know what they went through to get that picture that they're showing everybody. And I think that if you are really a friend to someone, then I'm not saying put all your business out there, because there has to be some, sanctity to your relationship. But if you are really a friend to somebody, or you really care about that person, let them know it's real. Don't, have them out here thinking that you got this perfect relationship and everything is going great and nothing ever goes wrong, and he sends me flowers, when you didn't tell him that he kicked the trash can over because he was mad at you this morning. Right. So I think that also adds to, as from a community perspective, it adds to that we also have to be honest with each other, not just for ourselves, but also to help those who are in those situations come out of the situation, because they need to know that nothing is perfect. So everything has its problems, but at the same time, there is a different level between something having a problem and this being bad for your life and bad for your mental health.
Right. And that's something you need to let go of. And that brings another good point too: social media and people putting on face. Oh, people stay in those relationships.
If I see hashtag power couple one more again.
Yeah, people stay in those relationships just for that reason, so that other people won't know. And then Valentine's Day is coming up. People stay in relationships, bad relationships,
for gifts.
Yeah, Christmas time, the cuddling season,
all of that
cuffing
season too.
Yeah, cuffing season.
Look, let me say, first of all, I'm not with all that cuddling. Okay, I'm just not with all that cuddling. That's just me.
You missing out.
But look, I'm just saying.
But what I will say is that I do believe that social media kind of gives another context to relationships, because now people are living their relationships out in the open, kind of like superstars, like you always on all the time. So you're always pretending, like you trying to make sure everybody thinks that your relationship is good or lit, that you a power couple, that he loves you. And so I don't care what people think about it. I'm a creeper. I don't need you to know who I'm chilling with. That's not your business, right? And I'm okay with keeping that personally to myself. And I think that I want to end this segment with saying, ladies, that I want us to tell women that they really need to learn how to love themselves, and men too, because you don't have to worry about toxicity when you work on yourself, because you can't fix other people. You can only fix yourself. So any closing thoughts before we roll to the next segment?
Just know that you matter, and you don't have to stay in that situation, that you definitely can get out, reach out to someone that you trust, and just be transparent. Just break that fear cycle and just do it.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And it's okay to love yourself, and it's okay to be alone. I think that, I have friends who even now struggle with being alone, and so they choose situations that they know are not good, not beneficial, not productive, so that they don't have to be alone. But if you can't stand to be with yourself, why do you think that somebody else would be able to or want to be with you? So I think you have to learn to be okay with yourself, be happy with who you are, and the rest will come.
Yep.
That is awesome. Yay. Thank you, ladies. And with that, we are going to take a break, and we are going to pay our sponsor. Remember, we are sponsored by Paul Wilson Insurance Agency, and we will be back with our final segment.
Thank you for watching Houston's most diverse opinion-based show, You Think It, We Say It, brought to you by the Houston African American Bloggers Association. On the show, we share information, opinions, and perspectives focusing on Houston and flowing outward to encompass living well globally. To find out more, please visit HoustonAfricanAmericanBloggers.com.
Hurricane Harvey hit us hard. Me and my wife lost both cars, and our house has water damage. We worried about our future, but then we contacted our trusted Paul Wilson Insurance Agency, Farmers. Let them make sure you're covered properly in the event of a loss. Contact them today for a free, no-obligation review of your current policy. After contacting Paul Wilson, we knew things were going to work out just fine. Contact the Paul Wilson Agency today at 281-200-0137, a Farmers Company.
If you're in Houston and interested in becoming a content creator, attending our 3rd annual boot camp on August 4th, 2018, is an excellent way to learn the benefits and ins and outs of consistent, engaging content creation. For more information on everything I've just mentioned, please visit HoustonAfricanAmericanBloggers.com.
My wife Annette and I have been married 2 years and now expecting our first child. The doctor says it's a boy and I'm so excited. Now this addition to our family has us thinking about the future and how our son will be taken care of if something ever happened to us. I suggested to my wife we contact our insurance agent. The people at the Paul Wilson Insurance Agency helped us pick out a great life insurance plan that will ensure that our loved ones will be taken care of in case of an untimely death. Now that that's taken care of, we can now focus on finishing this baby room. Contact the Paul Wilson Insurance Agency at 281-200-0137.
So we are doing our final segment, and this is one of my favorite. It is Get Your Coins. So I'm here with Charlotte, and I am also here with Tashia, and we're going to be talking a little bit today about what does it look like when you work with the person that you live with or your significant other, and you guys are getting paper together, right? And what if it doesn't work out? And that kind of goes along with the theme of what we've been talking about today. We've been talking a lot about relationships and about family, and it kind of just rolled with us. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is we had a topic matter that said that how do people feel about the situation with Mary J. Blige and Kendu, right? Because you're married, you work together, he was her manager, and now it didn't work out, right? And so now he's coming for her, he's coming for her money, like he wants to get paid, right? I think my understanding is that he wants her to pay his child support. Some other things. So let's just jump right into that. How do you ladies feel about that? What does that look like?
I'm not paying nobody's child support.
Okay. I'm like, I didn't have fun having them kids, and I'm not gonna pay for them. I love them. I might buy them a birthday gift or something, but I'm not paying child support for them.
Those are your children, sir. Your children. You pay for them. We are no longer together. There is no reason I need to pay for the fun you had.
Exactly.
That I was not a part of.
Well, there's a sermon in that. Honestly, the way that I feel about it is when you are in a relationship, I don't care how good it is on a physical level. I don't care how much you vibe or work well together. It needs to be in writing.
Okay.
Because things can change, and I'm trying to be real circumspect in my language.
I saw that. I was like, I love how I see how she playing with those words. I love it. I love it. I love it.
The reality of it is, no matter how much you love someone, you need to make sure that you take care of your assets.
Okay.
And so with Mary J. Blige and that man,
did they have a prenup?
Specifically,
no,
they did not have a prenup.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that you have to have a prenup, but if we're in business. Business is business, baby. I love you, but don't play with my money. And he coming for when I read what he was requesting, I was like,
"Well, tell us tell us some of the things he's requesting."
He was requesting money for his charitable contributions.
Okay.
So hold up. You don't need to be giving away money right now because you're trying to get more money from me. See, these are conversations that he and I would have had to have.
Okay.
We would have had to talk about, again, back to those children. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. I really believe that when you blend a family, you blend a family. However, if I'm taking care of them, I don't need to give you the money.
So
to
the
take
whole
care
point
of
the spousal support, right, is that he's talking about he wants to continue to live in the manner in which he was accustomed, right, when they are together. So then this is my question. When you are married and you getting cake together, right, and you're building, we understand that Mary had a certain amount. She was married before Kendu. Like, did anybody know who Kendu was before Mary?
I'm
just asking because I know I didn't know who the dude was, right? And then I was like, oh, okay. So I'm an eye person, and I was like, oh, he has nice eyes. And I was like, okay, bloop bloop, we're off. Mic is off. But my point is that they were in his mind. I think that he feels like he helped her with building her empire at the point where he entered into the relationship at being her manager, right? So y'all don't think that he should get more cake because of that? She said no.
No, what he requested, it wasn't. He doesn't, the amount of money, the sheer amount of his money that he requested had nothing to do with how much they made together or how much he helped her make. He wanted it from way back. He wanted, what's the 411 money? That wasn't Kendu.
Oh, absolutely not. You would not be. before I even knew you, I knew what the 411 was. So why should you get anything that I put my hands on before you came into the picture?
And that's what the amount that I don't remember the exact amount, so I can't really blow your mind with it. But when I read it,
I thought it was like, I might be wrong, so I know that somebody will fact check for us. We're going to do like they do Trump, right? But I believe it was $100 and something thousand that he was asking for in spousal support, right? So I was like, it was an exuberant number.
What type of life are you living where you need that much money?
First of all, it's because he wants to take care of that I can't say that word. My bad, that hooker that he is, because he has a side chick that he was paying for her. He was paying for where she was living, and
No. Let's be honest. Mary was.
I'm sorry, my bad.
For the side chick.
My bad. Mary was paying for the side chick where the side chick was living, and so for me, that's like so. I feel like he is adding insult to injury. It's bad enough you cheated on me. Now you want all my cake.
Here's the thing: they owe some money to some people. They got some debts, and she has turned around and said, "I tell you what, I'll take care of all the debt. All you got to do is walk away."
Okay. Maybe he should have changed his name. Maybe he should have been Kendu Blige. I'm just saying, because that might have helped him. So when we were talking about that, you mentioned that we should have, contracts, right? Whatever it is, if we're working together and we're getting money together, we should have contracts. That brings me to, let's talk about the Kardashians, because that's always a really hot topic. And, they were all over TMZ this week because, first of all of them are pregnant except for Kris, the mama, which, but they all are having kids, and none of them have like any type of child support paperwork together. Like I think one of them is pregnant by Travis Scott, and
she just had the baby, and they're on the rocks.
She had the baby already.
Yeah, she
Congratulations.
had the baby. She had the baby, but they're on the rocks. Then you have
already.
She was pregnant at the same time that Kim's surrogate was pregnant. So people were thinking, okay, well maybe she's having the baby for Kim, but that wasn't the case. She just doing her own thing.
Okay.
And then the oldest sister, I forget her name, but she's got like 3 kids with Scott.
Oh,
they
this
aren't
is
married.
Courtney.
Okay. And then of the big 3, you have the one that doesn't look like everybody else.
Okay.
She's Chloe.
We're going to have to get these girls' names right, man. This might be in our keyword search. It's Courtney. Kim.
We wasting time, y'all.
Kim, Courtney.
I don't know. They gonna tell us whoever they are.
Whatever. But
they don't have no paperwork for these babies, is what I'm saying.
Kim, the only one that got paperwork, but she married.
Okay. But here's the question. Does she really even need paperwork? Because she got enough bread to take care of the kid on her own. Does she need that? So when they separate, what does that look like? You know what I'm saying? Like,
honestly, and I don't wish separation on anyone. I'm not going to say that someone's in it having babies for money. That's not anything that I don't put that out on people.
No, China had that baby for money.
Now listen, I'm not talking about.
My bad.
Listen, I'm going to finish.
I'm just saying, China had that baby for money.
Ma'am,
she did rob like that. Okay,
I'm trying to finish this conversation.
Okay.
Dealing with, listen, I have lost my train of thought. Just forget it. I have nothing else to say.
That's okay.
But you know what? Rob did himself a disservice posting all that stuff on social media, because then he had to come out, what, $25,000 a month now?
Yeah.
And all he had to, again, put it on paper and shut your mouth. See, I'm
walking into the bedroom with a contract, and this is what it says.
If you are of childbearing age and you have assets, several $100,000, millions, if you have those assets,
China had some assets.
She did have. She does have assets. No, she was a businesswoman when she came.
Yes, she
was. She was about her business. But here's my thing: when it comes to your children, you want to make sure that they get what is due to them. Now, what that looks like for you as a parent, you need to work that out, in my opinion, before you pop them out if you're the mother, before you dump it down if you're the father, before you go spreading your genetic material. You need to say what you want for your child outside of any relationship you might have that child in. And if your assets are large enough to where someone is looking to take a hold of your finances or get a piece of your pie, then you would be well served to make sure that you have things protected. This is what I'm paying for. This is and here's the thing. If more people talked about money on the front end in honesty, like, I need you to pay for a boo job after I have this baby. I mean, these are all realistic things that if people had these conversations beforehand, there'd be a lot less for TMZ to report on.
So what I'm going to tell you is that if Rob didn't see that coming, it's something wrong with him, because that was written on the wall. Like, I mean, first of all, let's just start here. If you make the decision to sleep with the dude that is the brother of y'all already, everybody out there know the situation. The point that I'm making is, if you got one kid with Tiger and then you gonna go and sleep with the brother of the chick that he was with, come on, bro. That had tomfoolery written all over it. At the end of the day, she was trying to get into the family and she was trying to get paid. She did have some assets. I mean, she had a pole.
I'm upset with them because they didn't include him into the game.
And so his whole family, this is what I'm saying. His whole family.
I am not dealing with you.
Saw that train wreck coming and nobody said anything.
We're supposed to be talking about assets and hold on.
We were talking about getting cake together.
Contract and working. We're gonna bring y'all.
We're gonna bring it back. Okay,
we're gonna have to bring it back, because here's the thing.
So China and Rob were working together, Tashia. They had a show together. It was a reality show. I'm getting it back on track.
Okay, we're back on track.
They had a reality show, right? She came out on the bad end of that because the show ended, right? And so here's the truth. He already had money. He had the sock money. He has Kardashian money, right? So my thing is that I'm thinking, you're right. They didn't talk about it on the front end, what that was going to look like. And of course, she had some expectations, right? Because she popped that baby out and all she heard was cha-ching. That's what she heard. And when she is getting cha-ching. Somebody's throwing coins at her, literally, not dollars. Okay, I'm just saying. So I apologize, y'all. But it was fun. Okay, anyway, what could she have done differently besides talk about it in the beginning? What would that look like if we're being honest in relationships as entrepreneurs and we're married and it doesn't work out? What pointers would you give a person?
If we're working together, I'll use myself as an example.
Okay,
I love my husband. We've been married 23 years
Ooh,
this year. Thank you very much. As much as I love him, as long as we've been together, when we form our corporate entity, it will all be on paper, and we're going to treat it as if we don't know each other, because what goes on in my home is not what's going on in my business.
Okay.
And if, God forbid, something should happen, we need to be able to walk away, not necessarily without hard feelings, but without somebody going to jail behind money.
Right.
Because people I know someone, and it breaks my heart that her child's father was killed by another woman for a $10,000 life insurance policy. People die for money.
Okay.
God forbid that our child is left without their parent, or that something else happens over money. When we can avoid a whole bunch of this, if things are already taken care of, if we already know on the front end, if it's in paper, in writing, and legal, like you like to use that word, Charlotte.
Legal.
If it's legal, it's in writing. Everybody knows that if I end up hating you at the end of the day, you still get your 50%, I still get my 50%.
Because I think that's fair. Like for me, when I talk about finances, I think that it really is important to just be fair. So if I marry you or whoever it is that I marry and we came into it and we had nothing and we built something sustainable together, then for me, it is fair that we split it in half. But if I met you and I'm already who I am and this is my cake, I don't want to share it with you after I'm no longer with you. Like, I just don't feel like that's fair. And I don't feel, I know what you're saying. I do need to put it in writing and make it legal. But I really feel like I shouldn't have to tell you that. You know that.
Okay, but here's the thing. I might know that, but you better know your state laws.
That's
because
true.
depending
That's
on
true.
where you live,
that's true.
Right.
You get, we don't have time to talk about all the women who thought they were common law wives and didn't realize that their states didn't have common law marriage. So that's huge. People that get put out of homes they've lived in most of their life. Why? Because you didn't have the paperwork. It's not necessarily about the most. Don't allow emotion and feelings to keep you from being smart, from securing your bag. You know, that's just the reality. And in some of these situations,
it really hurts me when I see couples who've been together for years, living together, and they ain't got no paperwork on each other. So if anything happens, there's no guarantee that the person who's been there this entire time is going to get anything.
And let's face it, black folks will date for 25 years. without getting married. Why we do that? Does anybody know? I'm just saying.
Listen, ma'am, I am trying to stay on topic, but we could take this and run down. I'm not. I'm going to behave myself. I'm going to stay on topic. So back to.
I am so proud of you. Okay, y'all, I did cut the fool. It is really my fault. So let's wrap up this segment and let's do this. So let's what I'd like us to do is give a pointer, like a serious pointer besides on paper. Like, what could you do in a relationship to make sure that it works? So that money isn't a problem besides legal. What other steps could a person take to make sure that while you are working together as an entrepreneur relationship or as a partnership, to make sure that it works while you're in it so that it's fair?
I think you do need to have everything on paper. Just document everything.
Okay.
Whatever agreements you have, make sure it's signed. You can't go into court with just your word most of the time.
Okay.
But if you have email trails, text messages, anything that shows that you had this type of agreement, you need to make sure that you have it in hand in case things go south.
Okay.
I would say, look, I'm not going to talk about paper. Know your strengths. Know yourself well enough that where your partner is strong, you let them lead that. And where you're strong, you lead that. There is no one leader. Whoever is better at doing that thing, if you have somebody that makes sure every bill is paid 3 days ahead of time, that person needs to be the CFO.
Okay.
If you have somebody that's really good with words, that person can be your marketing, or because I'm assuming that we're talking about building together.
Okay.
So play to the strength and let your partner be strong where they're strong. That would be my advice.
I would say that my advice is to understand that mediation is always an option. So even if you're married and you're not going through problems, but you're having small individual things that you might not be seeing eye to eye on, before it festers and gets bigger to the point where it's snowballing and it's getting out of control, go sit down and mediate. And I'm not talking about counseling, right? I'm talking about mediation as if you would do in a business, right? So sit down and mediate the problem, and then figure out how can you come to an amicable decision. And I think that if you can do that in business, you might be able to keep yourself out of the divorce court. And Hab said that 50-50 is a fallacy. So,
well, now I use 50-50 because people are comfortable with that idea. Okay. That's not the reality. If you've been in a relationship more than 2 minutes, you know that's not the reality. But I try to make things relatable when I talk to people about things. And we'll continue this conversation another time with some wine.
All right. So you got that. That was a really, really good conversation, and I appreciate that. And I'm glad that you ladies joined me. So we are going to wrap it up, and I am excited about this episode. The title of this episode was Mask Off, and the goal was for us to take the mask off and really talk about what happens behind the scenes in relationships. So before we go, we are going to close out with a word from our sponsor, Paul Wilson Insurance Agency.